Hello, everyone. All right, so I've been promising you a lab report or lab experiment, and well, by golly, you're going to get it. All right, so where do you find your lab reports? This is basically where everything else is. You go to course content. If you go into course content, you scroll down to the course content folder. So course content tab, course content folder, and then if you look, let me go on the student view. So be able to see what you see. So course content, and then as you see all of these folders, if you go into lab instructions, and your first lab will be the airplane lab experiment. And what does it consist of? Well, let's look and see. Airplane will lab consists of, actually, let me pull this up. You will have to design a paper airplane, and will consist of three different concepts. All right. Using 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper and 20-inch tape. What are you going to do with the 20-inch tape? Well, hey, it's for you to tell me. Um, but you'll need to design three different lab models. And let's go to this site. And you can basically pick which of these you would like to model for your airplane. And then you will go back to, after these are designed, you will basically, based upon how you designed them, you will form a hypothesis on which one you believe will go the furthest and will fly through the air the fastest. Now you will need to calculate the speed, right? Speed is equal to distance over time. So what you will do is once you launch this thing, you're gonna have to time it. and after it lands, right, that'll be the final destination of your airplane. And how are you going to launch and throw at the same time? Well, you can either become very coordinated, and when you throw it, click your start on your time, or you can perform each of these experiments with a lab partner. And how can you find a lab partner? Many of my students ask me that. Well, your discussion boards are what you can use to figure out if someone wants to be in your lab or not. If you ever respond to someone on the discussion boards, then that's the easiest way to develop partners. If you respond to one person and that person responds to another person, that person responds to another person, right? That's three partners right there. You could say, hey, ask them, man, I always respond to you, or lady, I always respond to you on these discussion boards. Is there someone you always respond to? And they may say, yeah. And it's like, well, hey, could you ask them if they want to be partners? And you can message each other right there on these discussion boards. Or you can use, there's some kind of a messaging tool within Blackboard where you can message a student and ask them directly or email them directly and just ask, hey, could we be partners on these labs or what have you? And you can exchange, whatever you students exchange these days, whether it's social media profiles. I don't know. I don't think about this stuff. But whatever. Back in the day, we exchanged phone numbers. We didn't have cell phones back then. We had landlines. But that's beside the point. You all don't want to know about that. But anyways, that's the way you would calculate the speed. All that to say, calculating speed, time it, measure how far it actually launches, um, and then divide that distance by the time, and you'll get the speed. All right. Now you'll do this three distinct times, and you'll jot it down. Distance, time it took to land. Distance, time it took to land. Three times, right? And then you'll calculate your average speed of design one. You do that for design two, and you'll do it again for design three. And then there are some questions you're going to have to ask. All right. Now, but So once you answer all of these questions, you need to put this in a report format, okay? So go back to course content, and there's no report format for you to see just yet. But let me make it available, or maybe it will. I don't know. So let me go to course content, and you see these templates. All right, so it's available. So if I go back into student view, I didn't think it was available, but it is. So we'll go to course content folder, and templates. All right, so you have your lab notebook, you have your homework sample, you have your lab notebook sample, and then you have your report template. So if I click on report template, so this is the template you must use when you're writing your report. All right, so let's go over this real fast, quick, in a hurry. All right, so you have the students' names that are in your lab group. If you so choose to work with the group, if you do not, that's fine as well. Title of this lab will be the paper airplane design lab experiment. And you'll go to your abstract. What is your abstract? The abstract just tells the reader, and notice, you do not need this, delete this from your abstract once you write it. The abstract tells the reader about the objectives, the significant findings, and conclusions in a concise manner. So all the abstract is, you're going to tell the reader, you're going to summarize your objectives. What was the point of this lab? The point of this lab is to determine the aerodynamics of a paper, essentially. That's what you're doing here. So, but the cool part about this is you're also learning design and concepts, right? And so you're learning how to take a conceptual idea, right? Build that concept and figure out some engineering principles in regards to that concept. In this case, we're wanting to know distance and speed. So you're learning distance and speed based on a conceptual idea, and we're using paper airplanes. So you're going to learn some aerodynamics within the shape and size of your airplane, your wing shapes, right? The body, the fuselage shape on the paper. It's truly fun, right? It's just a fun experiment for your first one. But yeah, so and I know a lot of you probably already know the calculations and the applications for speed and distance and average velocity. We'll go over that a little later in the semester. But so you're getting a quick jump on average speed. All right. So then you will restate your objective here. You will basically put the calculations for average speed here. What else? The materials you use, you'll paste it here. In procedure, you'll just describe how you made your airplane. You folded it once or twice. You use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Your results will be the table that has your distance and time, and then your average speed for the 3 different concepts. All right, and so you just basically paste that into your report. Paste that into your report. Discussion, honestly, this is more or less where you can answer the questions, or you could just skip the discussion and put it all into your conclusion. Appendix would just be pictures of your 3 concepts and any, I don't know what else would, more or less just the pictures. That's all I could really think of currently for this paper airplane design. And then references, if you use any references, any citations, just place it here, right? Which, I don't know what you would use it for, but, whatever you could come up with in regards to your design. far as citations, right? And that's what I say. I don't know what you would use. I don't know what citation you will need for this particular design. But if you want to know, if you guess you're going to look up aerodynamics, best shapes, an airplane to carry it through the air for paper airplane, that is. If you want to like Google that and maybe find some information on that, then you would place those sites in this section of your report. All right. Now, if you all work in groups, I expect your lab report to look the same, but each member will need to turn in a report. All right. Because if you're writing this, if you're working in a group, I would assume that each person will contribute to writing the report. So they should, each of your reports should look the same. So the errors will be the same in each report. So hopefully nobody goes back, checks all their report and then corrects all the errors if you're working in a group, right? And doesn't tell their team members. I would hope that, if you found any errors, you would share that with your other team members and you all will have the same report. Do I look through every report? Yes, I do. I look through every report. So, all right, that pretty much concludes this section. Now there is a lab notebook. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the lab notebook, but the lab notebook, let me go to pull up that. I'm going to pull up that template for your lab notebook. So lab notebook sample. Lab notebook is essentially you're going to just write down the steps you're taking to complete this lab. Like for instance, you design your three concepts of your airplane. You obviously you're going to throw your airplane. You're going to calculate your average velocity. And if you did any research for determining what would be the best shape, you will put that also here. And essentially, that's pretty much it for your lab report. I may even just take this. I may not even include this. Yeah, don't worry about the lab notebook portion, because essentially you're doing that in your lab report. What originally the lab notebook did was help you write your report, right? It helps you to build your experiment. So if you all want to use this, go ahead. But I guess let me know via email if you all want to. I don't know. I guess I don't want to have you all do the lab notebook and because essentially you're just double work. So I'll say disregard the lab notebook. All right, that will not be part of your grade. I'll remove that from the syllabus as well. So we'll skip that part. But if you have any questions on that, please let me know and we'll have discussions about it. All right. Thank you. That concludes this lab. That concludes the instructions for this lab. All right. Have a good evening.